Alaska, Seattle. We are so grateful for you joining us on our first webinar of the year. This is amazing, and we're so excited. You've taken time out of your day, and we tried to really be intentional and thoughtful about the time so we could capture as many folks across our great country and across the world. So I'm interested. Hey, Tahlequah, Oklahoma. I'm an Oklahoman. Okay, let me stop. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am Talia Carroll. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. I am a proud inaugural year scholar. So 2000, hands up. No, y'all out there? Anyone? Okay. So I also get to have the opportunity to serve as the Personal and Professional Development Committee Lead for our Gates Millennium Scholars Alumni Association, the best association in the country, I might add. We are doing excellent things and are really excited to be engaging with you today. So I have some things I'd like to share with you, so we'll be looking at my notes. But we are excited for your company. We have a phenomenal panel of alumni here who will be sharing their perspectives about COVID-19. And just so you know, this is a webinar format, so you all are muted and we will just be engaging as a panel. And in the future, we will explore other opportunities for us to engage in dynamic dialogue. We are going to launch a quick one-question poll right now, and you have an opportunity to mark as many responses as you'd like. And so here you go right ahead.
I should have added background music.
No, that's okay.
Next
we're
time.
Okay with silence. Or maybe we're not okay with silence. Hi, inaugural year scholar. See, I knew I'd get a shout out. We're eager to see folks' responses. We are now at 82 folks in the webinar. Again, really grateful for your participation and taking time out of your day to be here. We're grateful. I'm eager to see what the responses are. As we're waiting, thank you for participating. I will go ahead and start with some housekeeping for our time today, just so you're clear about how we're going to engage in our time. First and foremost, we love our Gates Millennium Scholar family. And if you are a part of our family, just know that we are sending you lots of love virtually, and hopefully one day, as a part of our coming together, we will be able to see you in person. But in the meantime, I'm really grateful again for your time. I do want to share that the opinions shared by each of our panelists, our alumni, are their own and are not representative of their respective employers. So I want to make sure folks are clear about that. We will be using the hashtag GMS COVID Town Hall. I realize it's long, that's how we do. We go big. So GMS COVID Town Hall, if you'd like to engage with us on social media, please use that hashtag. Again, we are in webinar mode, and we will be exploring other opportunities or ways to engage with you in the future. And we recognize that making a sharp shift from engaging in person to doing things online may not feel good to everyone. And we hope that this is just the first step for us to engage with you. And if you have other suggestions on how we can do things to best support our GMS family and friends of GMS, please do let us know. We are open to your ideas. This town hall will be recorded. It is also being broadcast live on Facebook. And so you will be able to return to this webinar and see if there are any tidbits that you'd like to remind yourself of. And finally, within the next 24 to 48 hours, I should say, we will be sharing out a resource page for you based on many of the things the panelists have shared, and then some other opportunities for you to be engaged and take care of yourself in the midst of the COVID-19 outbreak. So Ryan, do we have responses? Oh my gosh, well, this is excellent. Thanks so much. So it looks like what's at the top of mind for folks is the time frame for quarantine. I'm not surprised by this. We've only been in this situation for a little bit, but folks are already feeling like they're ready to be out and engaging with their family and friends. And so, sure, not surprised. Spread of virus at the top, mental health and well-being. And so we hope to address some of this today, and again, want to reiterate that we may not have all of the answers, but we are definitely committed to engaging in a conversation that hopefully will be beneficial for you. So thank you so much, Ryan, for doing that for us. So without further ado, I would like to invite the panelists to introduce themselves. They will first share just a little bit of information about themselves, and then we will circle back and they will provide a little bit more context about their work and some perspectives about how they perceive COVID-19 really impacting our country and our world. Thank you all.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Winwin Kahn. I am the president of the Gates Millennium Scholars Alumni Association. First and foremost, thank you so much for getting this panel together. Thank you to our participants for giving some of your evening to us and connecting with our community. For our non-alumni guests, welcome. The Gates Millennium Scholarship community is 20,000 strong. We're passionate people committed to service and leadership around the world, and we look forward to continuing to engage with you. So welcome. I am from the class of 2009, so fine. Can't compete with the inaugurals, but 09 does it pretty well too. I am based in Atlanta, Georgia. I grew up in Detroit, Michigan. Went to the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor for my bachelor's in international studies and my master's in public health. And I currently work at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. And my work there revolves around creating policy for our budget and explaining what we do with taxpayer dollars. That's the simplest way that I can explain that. So I'm very excited to continue this conversation tonight. I'll pass it on.
Okay, I'll go ahead and introduce myself next. My name is Medina. I am from San Antonio, Texas. I currently live in Washington, D.C. and work for the Pan American Health Organization / World Health Organization in the Adolescent Health Unit and Family Health Promotion and the Life course. What we do there is essentially we look at what happens from when you're born all the way until you age, what implications health has on you as from a child all the way to when you're an elderly person, how we can improve health and how we can improve women's health, child's health, and elderly aging population's health. So it's kind of looks at like a whole view, but I specialize in adolescent health. I have my master's from Texas A&M University, whoop, and I also have a undergraduate degree and bachelor's of arts from St. Mary's College in Notre Dame, Indiana in global studies.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Bruno. I'm a Gates Millennium Scholar of 2007. I'm from Miami, Florida, but currently live in New York City. I work at New York City Department of Homeless Services. I work with individuals that are experiencing homelessness, particularly doing mental health programming for single adult men and women, and then working with our youth who are experiencing homelessness as well. I also just want to take this time and just uplift you and your families during this challenging moment. I can only imagine all the questions and anxiety that you're feeling, because I'm definitely feeling them as well. So I'm definitely in solidarity with you. So looking forward to this conversation.
Hi, everybody. My name is Laura Cristal Magaña. I am a PhD student at the University of California, Berkeley, in the School of Public Health in the Department of Environmental Health Sciences. And prior to that, I was at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention in the Division of Viral Diseases. And there I focused on sequencing of RNA viruses. I also got my Master's of Public Health from the George Washington University in DC. Happy to be here and really excited to join other Gates scholars to share what we know and what we can contribute in this forum. Thanks.
Thank you all for introducing yourselves. Just so you all know who are with us on the webinar and live, we did have a conversation to really prep, to anticipate some of your questions and to really be thoughtful about the questions you did submit when you registered for this event. So some of the topics we will address are driven exactly by what you shared with us. And so each of the panelists will also share some of their perspectives, and I'm going to sit back and be quiet. So thank you so much.
All right, I'll kick it off. I think just to do some ground setting, I thought it would be good to talk about what information do we know, what don't we know, and where should we go for credible information. So COVID-19, the coronavirus disease, is something we have never seen before. We are at a pandemic, and we know that throughout history, we have gone through several pandemics, but this is the biggest one that we are experiencing in our lifetime, and it is something that is highly infectious and it is hard to detect. And because of those two factors, it is so hard to tell if someone has it, if someone is carrying it, if we're passing it on. We also know that it spreads through respiratory droplets, and it can linger on surfaces. So coughing, sneezing, and then touching your face, touching others, touching surfaces can spread the virus, and we may not even know it. We also know that there are some common symptoms: fever, cough, shortness of breath. It's allergy season, we're winding down from flu season. Some of these things overlap, and it's confusing to know, hey, do I have COVID or do I have something else? I recommend you go to cdc.gov/coronavirus. There's an interactive tool where you can put in your symptoms and get connected to resources and identify if you might have COVID or not, or something else. We also know that this disease is so much worse on people who have weaker immune systems. Those are people who are elderly, they are people who have other coexisting health concerns, and they are people who may already be addressing other health challenges. Because of this, we know that we need to do the best that we can to not all get sick at the same time and overload the health system. You may have been seeing on social media the term flatten the curve. We can't stop the pandemic, but we can slow it down. And we each individually can take proactive steps of social distancing and good hygiene to slow down and limit the spread. Now, going into what we don't know. Like I said earlier, coronavirus is a novel disease. There's so much that we don't know about it. It emerged a few months ago in Wuhan, China, and has spread rapidly across the world. We don't know when this is going to be over. It is scary to think that we cannot go about our normal routines, that we won't be able to see our loved ones, but this is what we have to do in order to limit the spread. There's a lot of information on the internet about alternative treatments, about vaccines, about medications, and what I can say is we do not have a vaccine for coronavirus. We started clinical trials recently, but we're at least 12 to 18 months away from having a vaccine to treat coronavirus. There's anecdotal information out there about certain existing medications and using those to treat it, but I cannot stress enough, please do not self-medicate. Please do not go rush and get those medications. Please work with your healthcare provider if you do come down with coronavirus, because I am seeing things on the news of people taking medication without knowing the effects it'll have on them and dying. So please do not rush to that kind of action. The other thing I will say is we're seeing so much information come out. How do we know what is real, what is not, what is accurate? Your best source of information is your state and local health department. They know what's happening in your city, they know what's happening in your state and what you need to do. Many places are implementing shelter in place. Many people have modified versions of that. Your local professionals and health authorities know what you need to do. The second source of information I'll say is cdc.gov/coronavirus. There's a wealth of information with common questions, symptom checkers, resources for physicians, healthcare workers, and that has the latest and accurate information there. So I'll pause there. Thanks.
Thank you, Winwin, for that introduction. Just to build off of that, I just want to uplift my Asian brothers and sisters, because the president of the United States is calling this the Chinese virus, and I think those type of comments really does not help. It really pivots people, and it really sends a really bad message. The proper name is COVID-19 or coronavirus. So we've seen a lot of discrimination towards a group of people which shouldn't be happening. And when you have leaders in government doing that, it's really disheartening as well. I mean, I think for those, I live in New York, and I think if you guys know that we are now 5% of the global footprint of new cases in the world. One of the things that health officials are saying, you should assume that you have COVID-19 and begin doing the steps of self-quarantine. So right now, as you know, that as more people are being tested in New York, and the numbers are going to increase with those testing positive. With that being said, the hospitals are going to soon not have enough resources to get to those that are most in need of a test. So something that you can do, especially if you live in New York or a more populated, dense area, is really just do some precautions right now and just self-quarantine. So if you have a cough or a sneeze, you may or may not have COVID-19, but assume you do, and do the steps you would have done otherwise without going to the hospital as well. To the point of information, every day it seems like there's new information happening or new developments happening, and it's hard to kind of keep up on what news outlet do you listen to. CDC website, is it the New York State website, the New York City DOHMH website as well. It's a little overwhelming. I just encourage you to really just take your time and kind of discern what discern what is digestible for you, right? And kind of make the best health decisions for you and your loved ones as well. I think finally, I know some of you may have guardianships or families who are much older. That population is more at risk, right? So thinking about how do you support your family without potentially exposing to COVID-19 as well. Something to keep in mind. I'll pause there.
Laura, Clarissa, feel free to jump in whenever you're ready.
I can jump. Laura, are you gonna go? No, okay. I can jump in right now. So one thing that I want to stress, so I'm looking at this from a regional perspective because that's my job. I have to look at it from the perspective of the Americas and potentially stopping the spread. And the first thing that I think about when I talk to the youth in the region is it's very hard for them to be cooped up inside. And the first thing I tell them is it's not about you anymore. This is about everybody else. And I stress that your individual liberties are no longer a priority because we're looking at the public good and the well-being of our society and of our nations. And so when the World Health Organization declares this an emergency, they name it a pandemic because there's no discrimination, right? It doesn't matter what color you are. It doesn't matter how poor you are. This is a disease that you can contract, and you can spread. And that is something that is very serious. People don't realize that it can multiply within minutes. And this is what Moon was saying earlier about flattening the curve. right? I live in Washington, D.C., and this past weekend, I was sharing with our colleagues yesterday that everybody wanted to go and see the cherry blossoms. Okay, thanks. Now you went and saw the cherry blossoms. You were not practicing social distancing, and you spread a virus that doubled in numbers in Washington, D.C., Virginia, and Maryland, because it's a tri-state area. And when you do that, then you flood the healthcare system, and then they're not able to provide quality care to you and prevent the disease. That being said, our goals are focused on reaching the UN sustainable goals. And when a virus like this happens and it spreads, other viruses, other illnesses increase because our distractions are being, our focus is being put elsewhere, causing a distraction from other things. I want to stress that mental health is the utmost importance right now because you are being confined in a solitary space. Some of you are lucky in being confined with family members. That is such a blessing because I am alone. And I have even been struggling with this. Nobody is immune from feeling, quarantine effects. And so I definitely think that it would be best for you to keep in touch, keep with social media, share with people how you're coping on our social media platforms. The Pan American Health Organization for the Americas, the region of the Americas, we have a campaign called I Thrive. So I thrive in quarantine, or I'm thriving in quarantine by X, Y, and Z. And then we'll even share and retweet you so that you have followers and stuff like that that are with you along the journey. I think right now we have 31,573 cases here in the United States alone. We have 1,384 in Canada, and then we don't have that many in Latin America. However, there is a lack of resources available in Spanish and in other languages. So if you are blessed with being bilingual or anything like that, do your best to translate for people. Do your best to share the importance. I've seen so many, I'm Mexican. I love my family, grew up in a Mexican-American Catholic family, but so many people saying, sana sana, or I've been through worse, or I survived the chancla. I don't need to quarantine. This isn't gonna get me. I'm like, no, it's definitely gonna get you. This one doesn't discriminate. It doesn't matter what your ethnic background is. You're definitely gonna be affected. So with that, I'm gonna pause and pass on.
And I'll continue a little bit talking more about what the virus is. For those maybe have heard different things, what is the actual name? So for the virus, the name of it is SARS-CoV-2. And for the disease it causes, then it's COVID-19. So we also want to understand the differences between those two. And it takes about 5 days for the virus to replicate in your body. And then you'll start feeling those symptoms. And not everybody gets the symptoms, right? Some of us have maybe a stronger immunity. Some of us might not be immunocompromised. Some of us may be younger. Some of us may be older. So what do we do with that? And it's always, again, going back to what Jerry said, let's assume that we all have it. And then we need to take the precautionary steps. What can we do to maintain safe ourselves, our families, our friends? And it's just practicing the social distancing. And I've seen questions well, do I have to spray down everything? If you're scared, I've made this little spray bottle that I have. Maybe you have anything you're lying around, you want to about something. It's just 70% ethanol, or rubbing alcohol that you can do. Just spray down things. Take precautions. One of the things that we don't necessarily think about is our cell phone, right? We have our cell phone with us on our face, we touch it, and sometimes we forget that that is one of the biggest carriers of any types of bacteria or viruses around us. So we do have to be kind of a little bit more attentive at that. So just remember, protecting yourself is protecting others. And a lot of the times we are kind of in this pull yourself up by your own bootstraps mentality, very like independent person. For me, I'm a very independent woman. Sometimes I'm very like self-reliant, but in this time we have to come together as a community and really look out for others as well. Think about like maybe your elderly neighbors. How can you help them without actually touching them per se, or coming in close within that 6 feet, maybe even 9 feet of the social distancing? Maybe, call them up. There's different apps, like for example, there's an app called Nextdoor that you can register yourself. And I've been seeing that in the Berkeley area, people like, hey, I'm an elderly person, I can't go out of my house, can you come get groceries for me? And people do. And there's also in the Berkeley area, like Bay Area, there's like a COVID-19 resource that you can sign up to, like help people that can't, get their medications because, it's unsafe for them to go out of their homes right now. So just try and practice whatever you can to help others. And if you don't feel that you can help others at the time, then it's also a time to step back and realize what your needs are during this pandemic. So I'll pass it on to someone else.
Thank you for sharing that. I think one of the things both Clarissa and Laura touched on was how do we check in on folks who are not taking it seriously, and what do we do about that? So I'll give an example. I'm in a group chat with a few other kids from my community, and we usually use that to talk about our parents and their sharing of misinformation on Facebook, and how do we like help them understand what's fact, what's fiction. And recently, last week we were talking about not being able to convince our uncles to not go to prayer, and I was trying to tell them like, hey, don't go, you'll be in really tight spaces with a lot of people, these are all the risks. And they said, oh, like the only thing to fear is God himself, like we don't need to worry about viruses and things like that. One of the things that I've been doing is calling my parents regularly and sharing accurate information with them. And also having reinforcements of my siblings who are at home to hold them accountable of where are you guys going? Do you really need to go outside? Is it really urgent? I think holding each other accountable is also something else we can do. I know folks are getting really creative with engaging through like virtual happy hours or having dinners over webcam. If you see your friends practicing in some of these behaviors that is like leisurely hanging out at the park really close to other people kind of thing, it might be worth sending a direct message and being like, hey, I know it's frustrating being stuck indoors. These are some things that I'm doing, and kind of like bringing that up too, because we do have to hold each other accountable if we're going to get through this.
Yeah, thanks Mun for saying that. I think the hard reality is that there's no going back to normal is not an option anymore, right? I think we are now living in a new way of how we do our work, working 9 to 5, how we do our schoolwork, how we interact with our loved ones. I think that is a real tough adjustment. That I know for me, it's been just a week and a half, and it feels like it's been a whole year. And the fact that this is going to be for the long haul, I need to figure out ways in which I can engage myself, really moving stuff that I did socially in person now online. And it's a real shift, and I don't like it. I don't love it. And I think, how do I remain grounded during this time, right? And how do I check in with my loved ones and still be there for myself? But I say that because I can only imagine what it's like to be home and working from home if you're not used to that type of culture, or if you've never done that before. What it's like. I know there's some people whose graduations are now going to be online, or some people are now having to exercise watching videos online, and it's just a very different way of the process of what's going on. So I know I am frustrated, but I try to find the silver lining and say I still have to do my part by staying home, right? Maintaining social distancing, right? Because by doing those things, I could play my small role in helping flatten the curve as well. But for those that are feeling like, how long will this be and when can I get out of this? It won't be tomorrow or next week, right? So hopefully one day we will be out of this pandemic, but what can we do now as a community just to really support each other during this time?
I'm gonna go ahead and jump in here. So the rumor, just like full disclosure, the rumor at WHO is that we will not be winding down until June. So really hone in and realize that this is gonna be our reality for a while, okay? So we have to accept that and make the best out of that as much as possible. And I say that knowingly that I have been struggling with it. I am an extrovert. I am a person that gets re-energized being surrounded by other people, and I live alone, and now I don't have that liberty that I used to have. So really, really hone in on all of that stuff. Some of you do have to go to work, okay? Y'all are essential workers, and I want to address Isaac Morales and his questions. He was like talking about essential business and him having to go to work and feeling guilty about having to go to work. He is providing an essential service. What the best thing that you can do is you still maintain your social distancing. You still wash your hands. You wash your debit cards and your credit cards, guys, because even if you do go out for that stroll and you support your local business, you're touching something that was touched by somebody else. So realize those things that you hold so dearly to you and just like put away is also dirty. And just practice those measures. You don't need to be wearing masks right now. Those need to go to healthcare workers. Those need to be given to people that are going to be exposed to the virus constantly, like nurses and doctors and people who are on the ground in different countries or even within our own country. So think about that and think about how many resources you're utilizing that you don't necessarily need. Nobody needs 100 rolls of toilet paper, right? We don't need every single disinfectant spray known to market. It doesn't matter. All the different scents, all the different brands, they're all gone from the shelves. We don't have a food shortage. What's happening with our healthcare system or with our grocery store markets right now is a good example of overwhelming our healthcare system, right? You go to the store and you don't have the things that you want to have, whether it's like rice or beans or toilet paper, or because you're overwhelming that market. You're overwhelming and you're taking everything, and they can't supply the materials fast enough, and they can't assist you fast enough because everybody's rushing and taking multiple. So we don't want to do that to our healthcare system. But anyway, passing it on.
Yeah, I can add something real quick. Everybody has seen the little participation that you can raise your hand or anything like that. Who here has watched any like Outbreak movie or Contagion, or recently the new Netflix series called Containment? Let's see how many participants. Let's do the little hand raises if we can on the side. And if you want to click on the participant link at the toolbar, and then there's where it says like hand raise, and you can click hand raise. Okay, so we got about 24 people, 26 people. Oh my gosh, so many people, right? So I want to talk to you about, in those movies, we all see that, the doctor, she injects herself to save like her father, right? And she goes into the room in isolation. Or in Containment, this CDC scientist has been working from this hospital with limited resources, and they find a child who has magical blood. Basically, well, he has antibody, not just magical blood. And, a vaccine is developed right away. But realistically, clinical trials take a long time. They take years, and they first move for like stage 0, which is like, experiments with like animal modeling, computer modeling. Then they go to like phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and phase 4. And each time they test different things, and the amount of people also gets larger. And so they do like immunotoxicity. So does it cause toxic to my immune system? Am I going to get sick if I get injected? So what they're doing this is with the coronavirus is that they're doing fast tracking a vaccine. And so many of you have heard it's already in phase 1. But we also want to be acknowledging that our scientists are doing the best they can with the limited resources that we have. Again, this is a novel virus, so that means it's new. We've never seen it before. And the vaccines that we have from other coronavirus-related families, which are like SARS or MERS, can be applied, but not necessarily do they target the same receptors or anything else that is related to that. But, we have people that are sequencing the genome of the virus. They're genotyping, they're tagging, they're finding all these receptors, these genes, whether they upregulate, downregulate. And, maybe how you can pitch in, find out, see if your school has any like project that, that you're, like this is a very large RNA virus. It's about 30 kb in length. So your average flu size is about 1,000 kilobase pairs. So it's a lot smaller, so you can sequence it a lot quicker. But our coronavirus is a lot larger, so it does take time. And so I just want to tell you guys, like, patience is of the essence. That scientists are working hard, medical professionals are working hard. If you can contribute, or if your school has a project, I know like some people ask, like Division 1s, schools or that have R01 grants can add any type of additional projects to this. And also ask your deans, your professors, anyone that you think you could work within the School of Public Health, or a different school like engineering or biochemistry, biophysics. Everybody is working on coronavirus in a different aspect. So it's just kind of like up to you how you want to participate, either as a student, a professional, and whatever you can contribute is like your contribution is a grain of salt, and it just keeps adding all, and it's going to take a while, but we're all in this together.
I want to interject just for a moment. Thank you all for what you've contributed so far. There was a comment over in the chat about some hesitation to even do the basic things folks need to do. There was an example of folks even needing to go to a laundry room in a building or where they live. And so do you have any advice or encouragement for folks to be navigating the day-to-day things that have to be done while also keeping themselves safe?
Yeah, I can speak to going to a laundromat. I don't have a washer and dryer in my building, so I have to go to a laundromat like every week. And when I go there, I kind of bring my disinfectant wipes and wipe inside of the washer, and also the dryer as well. I will have gloves on while doing it, just to be extra cautionary as well. But yeah, I definitely relate to that question for someone that doesn't have that. Have a washer and dryer.
Yeah, I'm also seeing on the questions, a question from Savannah about donating blood. Yes, so Red Cross is taking blood donations. I will say on Friday, I tried to go donate, and in Atlanta, at least, they're doing a sign-up systems to limit how many people are in the space at a time. So do check with your local Red Cross on preparing to do it and what times to go, all that kind of stuff. Two other things I wanted to mention. Right now on social media, I'm seeing, since there's a shortage of personal protective equipment, of like gloves, masks, all those things, there's really a call to action that folks are participating in. If you have PPE that you're able to donate, look up your local information of your local hospitals or health departments and see how they are collecting it. On the front of creating surgical masks or masks yourself, the science on the effectiveness of those made at-home masks varies. So please do look at the proper source of information. Like if a hospital is putting out an ask, they will probably have a resource on types of materials and how to make them and all that kind of stuff. So just please be careful. If you want to do something, get the right information from the right source before you do it. The other thing I also want to talk about is, as we're talking about feeling anxious, being at home and not being able to do certain things and feeling really limited, I want to acknowledge that your worth is not dependent on your productivity. So if you're at home and participating in self-care and stillness or reflection, or just being at home and being on the couch and watching a show, that's okay. It's okay to have that for yourself. For me, it's really showing how much my life revolves around my job, my volunteer work, and constantly being on the go. So adjusting to this, at first it was nice not getting out of my pajamas every day, but then it's kind of like, oh my gosh, I haven't left. What do I have to do? So I picked up a project of doing something in my backyard, and now it's raining and I can't do it. So I'm like, oh, now I'm not doing anything. And it's this cycle. So I'm working on snapping out of it. Productivity does not equal my value, does not equal our value. So it's okay to have stillness and quiet and just check in with each other, and all that stuff is okay. There is no right way to quarantine, except the public health precautions, but the other stuff. So just want to put that love out there for y'all.
I want to take a few seconds because disinfecting, people are commenting about disinfecting products, disinfecting, using certain materials to disinfect themselves. The best thing that you can do is the 20-second hand washing, and thorough. Like, you're in between your fingers, holding both of your hands all around. Like, there's actual videos that show you how to wash your hands for 20 seconds, with the soap, and it has to be soapy. That is the best way to disinfect your hands. So like, even when you go to the laundromat or you go to the grocery store, I always see people with their pocket hand sanitizers. That's not going to be as effective as washing your hands. So before and after you touch anything, wash your hands. That's going to be the best way, because your hands touch your face, and that's how that virus gets inside your body. For materials and stuff, boxes, bags, that's kind of difficult. Bags, I would wash your reusable grocery bags. Boxes, throw them out. If they're cardboard boxes, get them out of your house right away. Make sure you don't touch them constantly and consecutively. And then plastic containers you can wash very easily. Soap and water. People overlook soap and water, but it's going to save you. So use your soap and water and take that very seriously, okay?
I just want to make one point that Winwin said about like productivity. It's also okay not to talk about COVID-19 every day. So I know that it could feel like we're living, oh my God, it's watching CNN or MSNBC or whatever you get your source of information from. It can be like information overload, just taking this all in. It's okay to turn the TV off and say, I'm out of capacity today. I reached my max. Like, I'm tapped out. I'm not going to talk about it today. And I think also setting those boundaries with friends and family as well, because if you're so consumed by this, right, when do you really have time just to kind of take a break and say, I just need to make sure that I'm in a place that I can process and think through and make the right decisions before I could go and help someone else. I just really encourage you to say that it's okay to take a break. And I know that for me, I've been working from home, and I feel like I have had more Zoom calls working from home than I would have had in person at work. I mean, just today I was on 10 Zoom calls, and I just felt like really just catching up, really like going from one call to the other, just feeling really overwhelmed. So like, even that, it's like, it feels like it's a lot, right? So like, I just really encourage you, if there's ways that you can kind of like unwind and unplug for like, even for 30 minutes and get back, I just really encourage you to do that.
Thank you all. We are approaching the last 9 minutes of our time together. And I just wanted to, especially for those of us who are Gates Millennium Scholars and had the privilege of receiving funding for much of our education. We are also, I work at a university, a mid-sized regional university in Colorado, and our students are really going through it as well. They are experiencing loss of not being in their institutional home, of being able to connect with supporters as well. So we know that the virus and the impact of the virus is really affecting us all. And so I ask you to be thoughtful, right, about all of those who are experiencing difficulties. And also even in our difficulty, I also try to spend a little bit of time acknowledging my privilege. And that helps to really get me out of some of the energy I am steeped in, because I do have somewhere to live. And I think about those who are unhoused or are housing insecure. And I want to really be thoughtful about how I engage my mind, even though it's difficult. And I identify as an introvert, but I still don't like being home all the time. And I want to be able to be in community with people in person. And so just think about the ways you can really be thinking about others and lifting them up. I think that's a good way to also offer some good energy, for yourself. We are going to shift into some silver linings from each of our panelists. So we'll go ahead and give them some time to do that, and then we'll wrap up.
All right.
Oh,
okay, go.
Okay, thanks. So I will be having a Netflix watch party, with my friends. And, I guess this is a good time to get to know other people, hit up those old phone numbers that you've stored on your phone. Don't be hitting up the exes though, because it's in the past. That's a joke. But anyways, the silver lining is, there's always hope. Like we've evolved, and so have viruses. But it's how can we outlive it, outsmart it, and we do that by being resilient in our community. And so just take the precautionary steps. I know a lot of us have missed opportunities to go to conferences or to enjoy a friend's birthday party. Quinceañeras have been canceled, weddings have been called off, and it's just there's always hope within community. And so just what I ask you, what can you contribute to the greater good? And if you feel like at this moment you can't, then that's okay too. But if you can, help others to help yourself, and by protecting yourself, you protect others as well.
I will share that we will get through this. We absolutely will get through this. If history tells us anything about all the pandemics that have happened in the past, we survived and we moved on. We will get through this. Just take it one day at a time. Your best is enough. As you can see this evening in our chat, in our all the people that are here, your Gates family is here for you. We are sending you positive thoughts. We look forward to continuing to engage with you. But know that we will get through this. There are people who are working around the clock so that you will be okay. There are people who are risking their lives so that you will be okay. So hang in there. We'll get through this together.
Sorry, I couldn't find my unmute button. But my 2 cents would be, I saw some comments about the media and information being overwhelming, and each of us has kind of discussed that. If that gives you anxiety, if that brings on some emotions that you can't contain or can't control, I would go to Twitter. Follow Dr. Tedros from the World Health Organization. He does live updates every single day. Instead of watching videos, read news articles, really mitigate what is causing your anxiety in the media. Like if you can handle reading a tweet versus watching the news, then do that. And that will maybe help calm you down a little bit. But what I want to end with is have faith. This is gonna be bad. This is gonna, that's just the ugly truth, that this is gonna happen whether we want it to happen or not. And at the end of the day, we have to have faith in our public health professionals and the doctors and the nurses and the people that are providing care to people who have the virus. We also have to realize that we have a role to play in that. And taking every single day, you prevent the spread of the virus just by washing your hands, just by staying in your house. Use those small moments as a moment of happiness, a moment of gratitude that you are doing what you can, and that's in your control. I also want to say that there are emergencies. So there's a CDC emergencies Twitter account, and then there's a PAHO WHO, which is our region. So PAHO covers this region of the Americas. So that's more effective instead of the World Health Organization because it's specific to the United States. So and it's called PAHO WHO emergencies. And you follow those Twitter accounts and they'll update you with the most recent information, okay? That's it.
Yeah, I think the silver lining, or what I want to leave you with today, is now that you're adjusting to this new reality, the question you want to ask yourself, who do I want to become after this? That's really the question you want to ask. Are you going to be someone that is going to come out and say, you know what, I'm going to be stronger because of this. I'm going to be there for my family and loved ones. Like, who do you want to become after this? And I think that is something where you could take your time to answer. You don't have to be a superhero. You don't have to save the whole world. You don't have to do everything today. But over time, who do you want to become? I think the more that you take time out to know yourself and really kind of pace yourself in a way that's not overwhelming, but that's manageable, I think you will be out on top. And that's what I encourage you, is to really move at your own pace and just know that you have a larger community that's here to talk and to support you the best way we can.
Laura, do you have anything you'd like to share with folks as we wrap up?
Like I said, just be hopeful and we'll get this together. And some of you have asked, what is a Netflix party? So it is, if you have Google Chrome, this only works on the Chrome extension. Just type in Netflix party or watch party, I believe, and it'll send you a link to how to add the extension to your Google Chrome, and then you can watch with friends at other time. And so it's like actually being at the movies, but more comfortable because you can like get up and get your popcorn, your beverages, or your refreshments, or if you want to watch like rerun series of Friends, that you can do that with your friends too. So friends watching Friends, kind of funny. So enjoy.
Thank you all. We are so grateful for your participation with us. The chat is live. We are grateful for your questions and appreciate the support that's being shown in the chat. That's who we are. That's who Gates Scholars are. So just look out for more opportunities for us to connect. And I want to take a moment to offer my deepest gratitude to all of the Gates Millennium Scholar alumni for sharing your perspectives and being honest and open with those who are here with us today. Thank you so much. Please, please, please follow us on all of our Gates Millennium Scholars Alumni Association social media. We are really ramping up and really trying to be intentional about all the great things we can bring to you. And so we hope to see you in future webinars and even connection opportunities where we can all see each other and hope that it's something that you will be interested in. Just a plug, a fun idea. We may also explore doing a coffee chat in the morning and a happy hour in the evening. So this is an opportunity for all of the Gates Scholars in the world to get together and see one another and to build community, and to really just bring smiles to each other's faces and connect and provide a little respite from the challenges that we experience every day. Also want to share before we head off, we understand that what is happening in our world today is really impacting us and our mental health in particular, and our physical health if we're not able to really get out. And we want to just make sure that we honor that and say that we are all going through a lot, and we will actually include some mental health resources in our resource document here in the next 24 to 48 hours. But please feel free to reach out to us via social media and know that we are here for you, and so appreciate you. And we hope you have a good evening, and we look forward to connecting with you in the very, very near future. Thanks so much. Shout out to Social and Service Committee and Ryan. Thank you.
You're great.
Bye.
Night.
Bye.